The gunshot echoed through the marble halls. Victor Castellano stood over the body, his hands trembling. But the dead man wasn't who the police would find. In his pocket was a list. Names of every corrupt official Victor had paid off for 20 years. And the only person who knew where he'd hidden the original copy was the maid he'd just fired. Now, as sirens wailed in the distance, Victor realized his biggest mistake wasn't murder. It was underestimating the quiet woman who'd cleaned his floors for a decade. Victor Castellano didn't build his empire by trusting people. For 20 years, he ruled the city's underground with an iron fist. Politicians, judges, police chiefs, all of them danced when he pulled the strings. His mansion stood on the hill like a fortress, surrounded by guards and cameras. Inside, everything gleamed. Marble floors. Crystal chandeliers. Rooms filled with stolen art worth millions. But Victor's real treasure wasn't the paintings or gold. It was information. In his private study, locked behind a steel door, he kept records of every dirty deal, every bribe, every threat. These files were his insurance policy. If anyone turned against him, he'd destroy them. Only 3 people had access to that study. Victor, his lawyer, and Maria, the maid who'd worked for him for 10 years. She cleaned quietly, asked no questions, and seemed invisible. That was exactly why Victor trusted her. Maria Rodriguez came to America with nothing but hope and her daughter's photograph. She worked 3 jobs, sent money home, and never complained. When Victor hired her, she felt grateful. The pay was generous. The work was simple. Dust the furniture. Polish the floors. Don't ask questions about the men in expensive suits who visited at midnight. For years, Maria kept her head down. She noticed things, though. The whispered phone calls. The envelopes stuffed with cash. The fear in people's eyes when they said Victor's name. She saw the files in his study. Names she recognized from television. Mayors. Senators. Police captains. Maria understood what kind of man Victor was. But she had a daughter to feed, college tuition to pay. So she stayed silent, invisible, cleaning up the messes of a monster. Until the day everything changed. Until Victor made the mistake that would cost him everything. It started with a photograph. Maria was dusting Victor's desk when she noticed the picture frame had been moved. Behind it, tucked into the leather mat, was a photo she'd never seen before. It showed Victor younger, standing beside a man in a police uniform. They were laughing. But Maria recognized the officer. He was the detective who'd investigated her nephew's death 5 years ago. The case was ruled a gang shooting, closed within days. Her sister never believed it. Now, seeing this photo, neither did Maria. Her hands shook as she placed it back. That night, she couldn't sleep. Questions circled her mind like vultures. What if her nephew had seen something? What if Victor had ordered it? What if the detective had covered it up? The next morning, Maria made a decision. She would find the truth. And she knew exactly where to look. For 3 weeks, Maria gathered evidence. Every time Victor left the mansion, she photographed pages from his files. Bank statements. Contracts. Lists of names with dollar amounts beside them. She used her old phone, hands trembling, knowing discovery meant death. She documented everything. Judges who'd dismissed cases, politicians who'd changed votes, police who'd buried investigations. The corruption ran deeper than she'd imagined. Her nephew's name appeared once, in a ledger marked, loose ends. Beside it, a date, the day before he died. Maria's grief turned to steel. She made copies, hid them in her daughter's apartment across town. Then she waited for the right moment. It came on a Tuesday morning. Victor's lawyer, Thomas Brennan, arrived early. Maria heard them arguing through the study door. "You're getting reckless," Thomas warned. "The FBI is asking questions." Victor's laugh was cold. "Let them ask. We own half the bureau." That afternoon, Victor called Maria into his office. His eyes were ice. Someone's been touching my files, he said quietly. Maria's heart hammered, but her face stayed calm. I only dust where you tell me, Mr. Castellano. He studied her for a long moment. You've been with me 10 years, Maria. I've been generous, haven't I? She nodded. Very generous, sir. Victor stood, walked to the window. That's why this hurts. I trusted you. He turned, and Maria saw something dangerous in his expression. You're fired. Pack your things. Be gone in 20 minutes. Maria's mind raced. Had he found the copied files? Did he know? Mr. Castellano, I don't understand. You don't need to understand, he interrupted. Just leave. Now. Maria gathered her coat with shaking hands. As she walked to the door, Victor spoke again. Maria, if I find out you took anything that doesn't belong to you, there will be consequences. Maria drove 3 blocks before pulling over, gasping for air. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Drive to the address below. Come alone. You're in danger. The address was a coffee shop downtown. Maria's instincts screamed trap, but something made her go. Inside, a woman in a dark suit waited in the corner booth. Maria Rodriguez, the woman asked. I'm Agent Sarah Chin, FBI. We need to talk. Maria's world tilted. How did you? We've been investigating Castellano for 18 months, Chin said. We know you work for him. We know you've been careful. Smart. She slid a folder across the table. We also know your nephew, Marcus. We believe Castellano ordered his death. Maria's eyes filled with tears. I have proof, she whispered. Of everything. Agent Chen leaned forward. Then we need to move fast. Castellano's lawyer, Thomas Brennan, contacted us this morning. He wants to cut a deal. What Maria didn't know was that Thomas Brennan was dead. His body lay in Victor's study, a bullet in his chest. The argument that morning had escalated. Thomas threatened to go to the FBI, to save himself. Victor couldn't allow that. But killing Thomas created a new problem. Thomas had sent an encrypted email before arriving at the mansion, a dead man's switch. If he didn't respond every 12 hours, the email would automatically send evidence to the FBI. Victor found the laptop, smashed it, but he wasn't sure he'd stopped the message. He needed to disappear, fast. But first, he needed to find Maria. She knew too much. She'd been in the study too many times. If the FBI questioned her, everything would unravel. Victor made calls. Within minutes, his men were searching the city. But Maria was already at the FBI office, seated across from Agent Chen, revealing everything she knew. The FBI moved quickly. 20 agents surrounded Victor's mansion at sunset. Helicopters circled overhead. News vans lined the street. Inside, Victor watched the monitors, his empire crumbling in real time. He'd underestimated them all. Thomas, the FBI, and especially Maria. The quiet maid he'd barely noticed had destroyed him. His lawyer was dead in the study. His files were with the FBI. His network of corruption was about to collapse. Victor had one option left. He opened his safe, pulled out the pistol and fake passport he'd kept for emergencies. The hidden exit through the wine cellar led to the woods. He could still escape. Start over. But as he descended the stairs, federal agents were already there, guns drawn. Victor Castellano, you're under arrest for murder, racketeering, and conspiracy. Victor looked at the agent's face. It was Agent Chen. She smiled. Maria Rodriguez sends her regards. The trial lasted 3 months. Maria testified for 2 days, her voice steady as she described what she'd witnessed and documented. The file she'd photographed brought down 17 officials, including a senator and a police chief. Victor's network shattered like glass. He sat in the defendant's chair, silent, watching his kingdom fall. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. Life imprisonment. No possibility of parole. As guards led him away, Victor looked back at Maria one final time. She met his eyes without fear. The invisible woman had become the witness who'd ended him. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed Maria. She said only one sentence. "This is for Marcus, and everyone else whose voices were silenced." Then she walked away, into a new life, finally free from the shadow of the man who'd thought her beneath notice. 5 years later, Maria runs a community center in her neighborhood. She helps immigrants find work, teaches English classes, and advocates for families who've lost loved ones to violence. Her daughter graduated college, became a lawyer fighting corruption. The mansion on the hill was seized, turned into a youth center. Victor's fortune funded scholarships for kids like Marcus. Sometimes Maria thinks about those 10 years, cleaning floors while evil flourished around her. She'd felt powerless then, invisible. But invisibility had been her weapon. The powerful never see the ones they consider beneath them. That's how empires fall, not through armies or revolutions, but through the quiet courage of ordinary people who refuse to stay silent. Maria's story reminds us that justice doesn't always come from those in charge. Sometimes it comes from the ones they never thought to fear. The overlooked. The underestimated. The invisible ones who see everything. Subscribe for daily Mafia boss stories where the powerful are exposed and the underestimated rise.